All right, with the Dalton Daily, mine's going to be real quick here, guys, because it's a pretty obvious, or not obvious, but it's a pretty short and sweet note. But I'm not sure that a ton of people are aware of it. At Rutgers this weekend, the Scarlet Knights are on the road to take on Temple. The Scarlet Knights are 17.5-point favorites, so Vegas says Rutgers will march out of there with a win. With that win, Greg Schiano will become the winningest coach in Rutgers football history, passing Frank Burns, who's currently there. With the win over Wagner this past weekend, Greg Schiano was able to tie Frank Burns. But a win this weekend against Temple would make Greg Schiano the winningest coach in Rutgers football history. And I thought that was an extremely fitting milestone and accomplishment for Greg Schiano. When I think Rutgers football, I think Greg Schiano.
Yeah.
First tenure, second tenure, he's been able to take this program and do some amazing things. And again, we're talking about in the first tenure when he wasn't in the Big Ten and had a little bit of a better path to be able to build that program. He came in and the program was rough. And he's been able to build it back up into a respectable program in the Big Ten. No longer do you look at it and say, hey, there's a 50-some point win, like was the case years ago. So I feel like this is an appropriate way to kind of salute Greg Schiano for his incredible efforts to make Rutgers what Rutgers is. He'll become the winningest all-time coach with the next victory, and it might just come this Saturday against Temple. So that's the Dalton Daily.
You're absolutely right. When I think when I hear Rutgers, it's automatically I think Greg Schiano. It doesn't matter that he hadn't coached there in a few years. You know, even after he left, it was like Rutgers. Oh, Greg Schiano's school. You know, excuse me. And so, it's not an easy win now anymore. Now, granted, you're probably gonna go win. I mean, not probably, but you have the good teams are probably gonna win. But it's not as an easy win as they expected. So I agree that's I like
Rutgers made a bowl last year. I mean, that's
backdoored into it.
But still, Rutgers of the past used to be 1-11. Like that's...
right, they wouldn't have been considered in past years prior. So they
a win is a win, sir.
Yeah, even though it's a moral victory, right?
That's right.
Because they did go get thumped in that bowl, didn't they?
They did. But in self-defense,
they had to pull everybody back after sending them home, though.
I was going to say their Australian punter was already back home in Australia, and they had to call him from the airport and say, "Hey, do you want to fly back?" And he's like, "Okay," and flew right back over.
I guess I'll come punt another week, sure.
But nonetheless, so that's the Dalton Daily.